A major breakthrough in the search for a COVID-19 vaccine.
Johnson & Johnson revealing overnight it protects monkeys after just one dose. Human trials of that vaccine begin today as COVID-19 related deaths now top 150,000 in the U.S.
Wow, and there are now more than 4.4 million total cases. 7 states reporting a record high number of deaths in a single day. Let's bring in Deborah Birx, Dr. Deborah Birx, White House coronavirus response coordinator. Dr. Birx, always great to see you. The word is that you say, I'm worried about the South, but I'm really about the Midwest. Where?
So just to remind everyone, across the South, still a very serious pandemic, although they're starting to see the glimmers of hope of improvement. And we really want to thank all the governors and mayors who have worked very hard with their populations to ensure everyone was wearing masks, decreasing social gatherings, decreasing gatherings in spaces where you cannot social distance, like bars, and decreasing parties at home where you can't social distance. So now we see the virus, probably because of vacations and other reasons of travel, moving up into Kentucky, Tennessee, southern Ohio, Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, and of course we continue to have problems across the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, and Utah, and now increases in Colorado. So these are the states that we call yellow states. We believe if the governors and mayors of every locality right now would mandate masks for their communities, and every American would wear a mask and socially distance and not congregate in large settings where you can't socially distance or wear a mask, that we can really get control of this virus and drive down cases as Arizona has done.
Well, Dr. Birx, this is exciting news, what we're reporting with Johnson & Johnson giving the drug, the vaccine, to the monkeys, and it works on the first try. What do you know about this? What more can you tell us?
Well, the exciting thing about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, now remember we have 2 moving into phase 3 trials right now from Moderna and Pfizer. The Johnson & Johnson, all of these vaccines were built on what we call known technology or known vectors. So we knew the safety of those to begin with. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is exciting because it's a single dose. And so you get one dose, and to be able to show protection in monkeys like the other vaccines have shown with 2 doses, does shorten the time period for development because your readout becomes 30 days quicker.
Doctor, your colleague, Dr. Fauci, has suggested recently that goggles would work even better, or in addition to. You're talking about masks. People have come around to the reality of that. Are we going to look at more demands based on what Dr. Fauci has said?
Well, I've seen really great face shields, and I've seen them around the country. You know, I've been out to 14 states. The administration sent me out to all of the hot spots and then to the yellow states to really deliver specific messages about how to improve and prevent spread in their communities. And I've gotten to see a lot of exciting face masks out there, and face masks that come from the bottom up. And I think that's really, the American people are innovative. Those are actually pretty easy and straightforward to make. Many universities and those who have printers are making face shields now. So these 3D printers can really increase that production, and I think others are making them, and they can be decorated.
So, Doctor, well, no one's really interested in decorations. I want to know whether face shields or goggles is something we're going to hear next. Is this something that suddenly is going to become the new guideline?
So here's the thing about the face shield in addition to the mask. The mask is to protect others. It's to block those droplets and block that contamination that happens when you speak or sing or talk or even breathe. The thing about the face shields, we think that that could protect the individuals and that it would decrease the ability for them to touch their eyes and spread virus, as well as those droplets coming towards them. So they're 2 different technologies for 2 different reasons.
Unbelievable. Because we also heard now that the masks not only protect people from you, but it also helps you with your protection. So from don't wear a mask to wear a mask to now it can help you if it's spread, and now it can help you block. And now you're saying wear goggles. It's unbelievable. All right, let's get kids back to school. Do you believe, from what you know, even in the hottest spot, there's a way to get kids back to school safely, being that their transmission is so low? The chances of them getting it is so small.
Well, first, let's go back to those 2 statistics. One, we know from examples around the country that children do get infected. What we do know is they do better, by and large. The question about whether they are transmit the virus less is still an open debate. We have one study, it's not done in the United States, and I think that still is an open question. When you're talking about putting children back in school, the teachers, the grandparents that are home in multi-generational households.
Dr. Birx, can I stop you there? We've heard from experts who say it's almost impossible for kids to spread this to other kids and to adults. You're saying that's not true at all?
We have that one study in South Korea which showed that precise fact. What I can't tell you is in the United States, do I have an example, positive or negative, that confirms that study? And I think with scientists, we like to have always more than one study to confirm it. What we do know is children, particularly children under 18, get much less sick, as well as people under 35. That means also that they're more what we call asymptomatic and more likely to spread the virus without them knowing that they have symptoms. What we can do as Americans, if we want our children back in school, is we can help this country by everybody doing what the president has asked. Wear a mask, socially distance, avoid gatherings where you cannot socially distance and wear a mask, like bars and house parties, and this will bring down these case numbers very rapidly if we all together as Americans did those few things.
Doctor, I get it. We'd love to have 10 studies on that right now, but school's coming. It's a month out, and the doctor
had 6 months.
Doctors, the president has asked that schools open. So is the guidance going to be, hey, follow all these protocols and measures, but get kids back in school?
The CDC has put out those guidelines so that children can go back to school. I think every school districts around the country, and certainly we have multiple school districts where the test positivity is under 2%. And we have a whole other set of school districts and counties where it's less than 5% and case counts are extraordinarily low. What we want is the whole country to be able to go back to school and all of those case counts down to what we call the green states. And we know that is possible because states have been able to do that and maintain that. So that's the evidence base that we should be talking about. We have an evidence now of what works and how to maintain very low case counts. The rest of America needs to follow those guidelines and bring the rest of us into that green category.
Dr. Birx, let's talk about hydroxychloroquine because the president was saying that it's worked for some people. There was that local congresswoman that said it saved her life. And then you recently had the video of the doctors, I believe it was in Texas, that all the social media sites took down the video because she was saying this could be a cure. This has helped every single patient I've treated. Not one of my patients has died because I've put them on hydroxychloroquine, the Z-Pak, and zinc. So why is this pharmacy board in Ohio, why are they banning it if it does work in certain cases?
Because science and medicine has always been full of accounts like this. And that's why you do randomized clinical trials to actually be able to compare patient to patient. Everything that you just reported on had no controls in those individual practices. We know in the randomized controlled trials to date, and there's been several of them, that there's not evidence that it improves those patients' outcomes, whether they have mild, moderate disease or whether they're seriously ill in the hospital. Medicine always has these reports, and that's why we do these randomized controlled trials. There also may be a specific subgroup that does benefit, but we can't see those in these randomized controlled trials.
But isn't that up to the doctor? What if my doctor says hydrochloroquine? What if your doctor says remdesivir? Isn't that up to, or hydroxychloroquine? Isn't that up to my doctor to decide, not a pharmacy board to just ban it across the board?
Well, let's separate those two issues. We did have a randomized controlled trial with remdesivir. It does work. The president's been very clear and given me very clear direction to get that out to every single state in an equitable way so that every American can have that advantage of receiving remdesivir when they first get to the hospital and can benefit the most. And so that is moving forward. Medical boards decide for their state based on clinical practices. And so I'm assuming that Ohio had a very specific reason in order to take this approach. Every state has to be able to look at this independently because that's how we are. We're state-driven for those kind of decision-making.
All right, Dr. Deborah Birx, thank you very much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dr. Birx.
Thank you.